Hi, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. I decided that on the basis of so many messages that I get through from people, from decent good people whose only wish is that they might meet someone that they can share their life with. And these are extremely lonely people. Nothing unusual about that. There are many people who are alone in the world and not enjoying it. And so that's why you have these websites that spring up, which are there to help people to meet other like-minded people. So on the basis of we're not actually a dating site, we're not here to hook people up, to connect people one with another, even though in various strange and unusual ways we have been instrumental in helping people to meet. And so we have asked a few people that we know if they would write their stories, and we invite anybody who has a story of meeting online, and especially people who had given up, hope and thought that it would never happen. Because one of the things that I always want to tell people is that you really never know when the right one is going to come along. So if I can find the right place, I'll tell you how I came upon this story. Our subscribers, Louis and Genevieve, they have recently celebrated I think it's their second wedding anniversary. And so, just because I recognize the name of Louis from our channel, I wish them a happy anniversary and many more to come. And I got this letter from Louis, and he told me that they had met because of our channel. And now this is the thing, is that it doesn't make us the heroes. It just means that we were right there at the point when somebody needed a little nudge to go on to the next step. But I asked him, why don't you write your love story? Now, I'm a sucker for a good love story, one that's true, one that gives hope to those who are thinking that they'll never meet anyone. Look at it this way. If I can meet the love of my life when I'm 74 years old, when I met my wife, we've been together now, been happily married for 7 years. And if I can meet so late in life, surely anybody can find that one that they're going to be happy with, what my wife calls their happy ever after. This is the letter that I got back. He said, here's the write-up that you asked me for. If you have any questions, let me know. So, hi, my name is Louis, and a little over 2 years ago I lived in Ohio. I had been alone for several years. I did not want to spend the rest of my life alone. For some reason, and the only one I can come up with, is God left me. Now, let me just interject here. One of the things that I'm happy to see this, because one of the things that I recommend about meeting someone online, meeting anyone, is that you should find someone who has God at the center of their life, that they are on a spiritual path, that ideally that they're involved in some way with voluntary organizations or with their church or with in some way giving back to the society. These are the kind of people that you really would like to be with, but you must be that kind of person. No point in expecting it of others. Let me continue. For some reason, And the only one I can come up with is God led me. I came across one of Terence and Beth's YouTube videos. I was immediately captured by their kindness to those in need. Thank you. I looked forward to each new video. So what you have is a situation where someone is living alone, is not happy with living alone, and simply wants to meet a good, God-living, God-loving person to share their life with. During one of the viewings, I noticed in the Show More section a link for a website called Christian Filipina. We recommend Christian Filipina. The emphasis is on Christian. And by going to Christian Filipina, at least it's implied that these will be Christian people and therefore God-loving, God-fearing people. The more I watched Terence and Beth's videos, the more I saw that link, because we posted. Up to that point, I had never thought about trying an online dating site, but finally figured that I had nothing to lose. So I went to the website, created a basic profile, and was curious to see if there would be any interest. After all, I was a middle-aged foreigner, and what are the chances of something like this working for me? Living without hope, and then grasping at one small thing and saying, what the heck, why don't I just try? Which is what he did. Little did I know, God was up to something. Shortly before I signed up on Christian Filipina, a woman named Genevieve had just signed up. After approximately 7 days of being on the site, Genevieve said hi. I was shocked, to say the least. After viewing her short profile and viewing her photo, I was captivated, smitten by this beautiful, successful, godly woman. I had been praying for a godly woman to walk through life with, and God certainly heard my prayers. Little did I know at the time, Genevieve had been praying for a godly man to share her life with too. So you can see that people often in some indefinable way are actually sending out messages of the same thing, and divine intervention is bringing them together. Over the next several months, Genevieve sent messages through the Christian Filipina website, and eventually we began video chatting. I knew that I had to meet this woman. Now here's the thing, is that given certain feelings that you get from seeing the person that you are hoping to have a relationship with, something is communicating. How many times do we look at someone and say, just had a gut feeling about that person and I didn't want to be friends? And those feelings are usually right, and so are the good ones. So, in November of 2018, I booked a flight to the Philippines and anxiously awaited for the day to arrive for my departure from Ohio. It finally arrived. February 28, 2019. I departed from Toledo Express Airport in Swanton, Ohio, and arrived at Bacolod International Airport in Salai. I don't always get all of the pronunciations right, okay? Salai City on the morning of March the 1st. To be honest, I was not sure if Genevieve was going to be there. At that time, and listen carefully to this, at that time I had very low self-esteem. this is what happens when we live alone, lonely, alone, by ourselves. We sink. We're kind of like we're treading water and we get tired and we go under more and more often. And this is one of the things about living totally alone and totally isolated. People lose hope in life. So our friend went to the airport and he didn't even know if this lovely lady that he had been talking to would be there. At that time in my life I had very low self-esteem. But as I was exiting the terminal, there she stood. What a sight for sore and very tired eyes. On March 2nd, she introduced me to her parents, Adolfo and Lucina Genis, pronounced Hennis, sorry. For the first few moments we made small talk, and then I expressed my purpose for being there, that Genevieve and I had met on a Christian dating site, and over the course of time we grew to love one another. I asked Adolfo and Lucina for their permission to marry their daughter Genevieve. Adolfo extended his hand and said, "Just make her happy." Where are we? I came to the Philippines prepared. I got off of the sofa, I dropped to one knee in front of Genevieve and right then and there asked her to be my wife. She said yes. We began the process to get married, and 43 days later, on April 13th, it was lucky for them, 2019, Genevieve and I were married. Now listen to this, it's because this is important. I feel, I'm not saying this is the only way that it can be, but up to that point, we had not kissed. We had not even held hands. Listen now, this is two people who are God-fearing, God-believing, and living in the sight of and belief of God. And they've met, and they have already declared their love for each other and their commitment for the future. They have not held hands, have not kissed. We both wanted this to be done right. And this made our very first kiss on our wedding day so very memorable and special. Coming from such different backgrounds and cultures, it has not always been smooth and easy, but over the course of these last 2 years, I hope that I've grown up. There is still a lot to learn about one another, but I would not want to be anywhere else with anyone else. This love story began with what I believe was a move of God, followed by two hearts looking for one another, and the good fortune of being led by Terence and Beth's video. If any one of these pieces would have been missing, I would not be sharing this with you now. I say with no exaggeration that God has truly blessed me with a godly, loving, caring, a giving, compassionate life's partner, and I will be forever grateful to him and grateful to Terence and Beth. Grateful to Christy and Filipina, grateful to Adolfo and Lucina for giving their permission, and of course to Genevieve for taking a chance on a middle-aged foreigner and saying yes. And listen, this is the purpose of doing this series of love stories. Not just love stories that worked out, love stories, stories of love. For any that may be watching this video and have been hoping for, praying for that special someone, don't lose heart. God heard the prayers of two hearts, our two hearts. he will hear your prayers too. Now that's for sure. If you are a Christian, go to, and then he gives the cell, www.christianfilipino.com. Fill out a basic profile, provide a photo or two, so those viewing your profile will know you are a real person. And wait and see what God might do. Terence and Beth, thank you so much for allowing me to share my success story with you and your audience. May our great God continue to bless you both and bless everybody. Now, the reason that I thought that this would be important was that I saw the picture of Genevieve and Louis, and they obviously are so happy. Now, they've had 2 years. Now notice that there's realism. There's a reality check in there. But one of the things that I always say is that the foreigner coming into a Filipino culture is the one that has to change. You're not going to come to the Philippines and change the Philippines. The Philippines is an old culture. Now, why would you think about this? Why would you come from a culture that you are not happy with to a culture where people are known for smiling in the face of adversity? We are doing several houses. We're building several houses for people living in, prior to our going there, were living in quite wretched conditions and without any resources, without any hope of getting out of the situation that they were in. And what we do is we give them a basic house. Nothing great. It's a basic house, and it's safe, and it's secure, and it's weatherproof, and it's a heck of a lot better than what they were living in before. So now they are living in hope. And that's the purpose of hearing the love story of these two lucky people. But they met all of the conditions that I think you should have before you get married. Now, believe me, I've made more than enough mistakes when it comes to getting married and making it to good people, but wrong for me, wrong for them. And so I had to grow up too, just like Louis said that he grew up, and I had to grow up too. And it seems to me one of the common denominators of people who meet a Filipina is that they do a lot of growing up. I know many people through our channel. I know many people who have met and married Filipinas, and change in themselves is a common denominator, that they all talk about this. So it's important to know that this will happen and there'll be a great deal of change. But for those who are living at the moment without hope, the message is that if you open the door, someone can come in. If you put the wish there, at some point it may be granted. If you send the prayer up to the Almighty, maybe He can grant it in time. The thing that you must understand is that wishes, prayers are granted in God's good time, and His time is always perfect. If it were not so, why would I have waited 74 years to meet the love of my life and to find the mission of my life, to be able to help a lot of people with the help of my wonderful wife? Don't give up. You need, no matter what, you need to put the hope there. You need to rekindle the hope. And going to God can help you to find that. You can't find any faith unless you re-establish that. And you can re-establish that by prayer. And you can pray for the person that you want. Pray for the person that will be right for you. That's the difference. Before I met my wife, I thought I knew what kind of a person would be right for me. And it turned out that that I wasn't so right about that. So it's important now to allow, no matter how impossible it seems, you can find the right person. Here's someone, Lewis, who described himself, well, who's going to be interested in a middle-aged man like me? He's not a film star. Neither of them are film stars. They're people of their own source and kind of inner beauty and outer looks, which puts them together as a pair. And it's a love affair. It's not, after 2 years, it's not an arrangement. It's not a contract. It's a unity, the unity of two people who have continued to learn and love and find solace, companionship, friendship, love with each other. And they still both consider that they are very, very lucky. Congratulations to you both, and bye for now.